And thank you very much for all of you for coming so promptly. Good numbers, and we've got a few issues to discuss today. But let me go to the agenda. As usual, meeting call to order, just done. Update from the President. Mark, over to you, please.
Thanks, Kuba. Morning, everyone. And sorry I missed the last one. I think I was wending my way across Europe in a car on a holiday, and seems a long time ago now, but it was a nice break nonetheless. So sorry I missed the last one. Just on the agenda here, shore leave and vaccinations. I think we had a very good discussion time but last on what our position should be as InterManager, and I think that was clarified in Kuba's follow-up email. As far as shore leave is concerned, the position remains that shore leave is not recommended, but is looked at on a case-by-case basis, and as soon as possible. But now is too early, not yet. And vaccination, we encourage vaccinations. Good news on the vaccinations. Vaccinations coming in pretty much every day with more news of ports that are willing to vaccinate seafarers. Certainly from Colombia's perspective, the number of seafarers wanting to get vaccinations has now gone up, and a good proportion of our seafarers are being and have been vaccinated now. And I have to say, from a management point of view, we're pushing that really hard. Every message that goes out to the seafarers, every CEO's message, every director's message is saying, get yourself vaccinated, guys and girls, because otherwise, with things like shore leave, we're not even going to get to that debate until such time as the vessel is vaccinated, the crew is vaccinated, and it's safe to do so. So, that's the line we're taking. I guess the other companies are taking similar lines. On that, here in Germany, in the block of flats that I live, is a senior director of one of the vaccine producers. I won't even mention their names. And I had a discussion with him down in the motorcycle bay the other day, and it was very interesting. And I think it's useful. I fed this back to directors at CSM at our directors meeting yesterday. He said, look, never mind D variant, E variant is on the way, and it hasn't yet hit the press, but E variant is ever more clever than D variant at getting around the vaccines. And he said, this is the problem with this virus. It is so incredibly clever for something that's not alive in clinical terms. It thinks, and it mutates, and it morphs, and it gets around. And he said, the reality is we will go through the alphabet 2 or 3 times with coronavirus, and it will live with us. He said what's important is treatment, and we're 1 to 2 years away from having effective treatment on the virus, and the treatment is the only way out. Ultimately, vaccinations are knee-jerk. They're to contain the situation. They will have to be changed and modified. Can people just put there's great, thanks. They will have to be continually changed to adapt to the variant, but it's the treatment that is the key. I must say I hadn't focused on that. I was really focusing on the effectiveness of the vaccinations and getting everybody vaccinated, but that's not the answer. But just interesting, we will have to, and certainly from a Colombia perspective, the message that goes out on the back of that is, let's adapt our businesses full time to deal with corona long term. I mean, the situation is not going to change that much over the next number of years, irrespective of vaccination numbers in countries. So important. Very quickly on SMI. SMI magazine, I agreed, Kuba and I spoke this morning where we were waiting for Sean to come back to us. That's now been agreed on a 70-30 split, profit share from the SMI supplement, which will go out quarterly, the management InterManager supplement. Within that, there will be a 12,000 cost that we will bear, but then all advertising revenues coming back will be split 70-30 between ourselves and the publishers. The first of those supplements goes out at the end of September, so we need to get our skates on. Anybody who's interested in advertising, and I would suggest that if you are interested, if you do advertise in SMI or other magazines, advertise in this supplement now, because that money goes from one of your pockets into the other pocket, and we're able to use those funds for developing the cause of InterManager and other good and worthy causes that we might support. You know, we Columbia will certainly be doing that and advertising in that supplement as opposed to this SMI General, and also contributing interesting articles to that. We hope that the circulation of SMI will grow, so everyone will benefit. But that's been agreed, and Sean will get on to Cuba hereafter, and when he gets back from leave, and tie that up and get working on the first supplement. On the general principles, put my hand up, mea culpa. July was an exceptionally busy month for us as a business, and also I tried to take some time off, and I know Cuba took some time off too. The first draft of the general principles is not fit for purpose, and I'm not even going to bother circulating that. I need to dedicate a day and sit down with Alpha Marine and really explain to them what it is I think we want. I think I've got a generally good feeling about what people want and then submit that. It's my failing there, and I will get on with it. And rather than doing this, fitting it in around other things, I need to sit down with them. It's not Alpha Marines, in fairness. They haven't been given enough guidance. Is something inevitably the reason why products don't match expectations. I need to sit down, go over to Greece, sit down with them and get it. But we will deliver as soon as possible within this month and deliver something that is worthy of consideration of all of us. But where we're at now is not where me and Cuba want to be. And it's not. It just aggravated me and aggravated Cuba. So there's no point aggravating the whole lot of you. So that's all I've got. Over back to you, Cuba.
Thank you. Forgive me, I'm actually in an apartment which has flights overhead. So sometimes I need to stop for a second because the noise is really, really annoying. But otherwise, okay, picking up from where Mark finished, shore leaves, this is a dynamic situation, as Mark said. We will have updates on the shore leaves. Basically, members agreed to look into it very, very carefully. 86% of members said we are keen to allow people to go ashore, however, and this however is the interesting bit. We should have a document prepared by the partners, industry partners, Intertanko, ICS, Intercargo, ourselves, very shortly. And it's a good document. I have to say it's extremely good document. You don't have to take it, but I think it will be worth checking what you guys, because I collected information from you, but also what other associations have put into it. Worth checking. I should have this document hopefully this week, if not next week. Now, I will drop this. I am on leave from the 8th of August for a week. I'll be racing, so I'm doing Fastnet race. I will be at sea, but I will try to read messages, and if anything comes in, then I will definitely forward it to you. Now, as far as vaccination is concerned, it is really good news. And I circulated something on Friday, and I would love to thank you guys because members are feeding to me a lot of first-hand experience, first-hand information. So thanks to our Dutch members, as soon as Dutch government said we will be vaccinating 10,000 international seafarers, 1 minute later, you knew about that. Because I had a message 30 seconds after Dutch government allowed this. And funny enough, it was 16:45 UK time. Why did they wait until 17:45 Dutch time to, tell the world? I don't know. I don't know how many of you use this opportunity, but if you are in Holland, and it's basically like American system, you are in Holland, you can apply and you can have your international seafarers vaccinated in Holland. We have the same in Germany now, and I think Belgium is following as well. Claude, could you nod your head? I'm watching you.
Yeah, it was already the case. So it's the same system indeed in the Belgian ports.
Perfect, perfect. So if you think about Rotterdam, Antwerp, these are the places where majority of us are visiting. This is brilliant. So that's good. This is really, really good. We had another case of struggle, Chinese seafarer flying from Panama, but we did manage. Again, it was hard work. You should see the member working on it. It doesn't matter whether it is weekend or not. And I know I'm telling you guys who are working weekends, but that's what it was. And in the end of the day, on Friday evening, we had a very sad message. And no, the Dutch authorities did not allow him to fly. On Monday, we did manage. And the gentleman from Panama through Amsterdam flew to China. So I'm telling you all of this because yes, we can. And secondly, there is a huge value in pooling resources. And I am so impressed with 4 members and actually 5 because BIMCO came as well, trying to help. As soon as we've got a situation, we really pool resources. And this is very, very, very good for us. So thank you for that. One issue from me, I have been now contacted by 3 organizations which are very gently asking whether InterManager will have a position on European, let me just get it so I don't get it wrong. Hold on a second. Emission situation, ETS it is called. And I don't know the answer, to be honest. We tried as a secretariat, we sent a message 3 months ago from one of our members saying, guys, are we happy with Europeans putting forward emission trading and any comments? And we didn't have any comments. And now I'm being contacted by another 2 members who are saying, guys, 15th of September is the deadline. Are we ship managers going to comment, propose something? I don't know. I can only go as far as knocking on your door and asking. If there is a appetite to do something, I'm more than happy to do that. So please come back to me, or if anybody has any comments now, put your hand up. Otherwise, please email me and I will get on with things. Moving on, GDPR, that's a very interesting one. Colombia was very kindly pooling resources and then created a committee, InterManager committee, which worked together with other members, and they prepared a superb document where they went through local requirements, regulations, and have checked which are contradict each other and which are posing a problem for us, ship managers, to operate in different countries within Europe, not to mention other countries. And then we went to all these countries asking them for clarification, and every single country in Europe came back and said they cannot comment. They cannot. So we went to European Commission, and European Commission was very interested in helping us. And I think now we got to the supervision body of European Commission, which is looking into it with our committee. The only problem I had on Monday, when we sent a message to this European Commission gentleman who is looking after that, I got a bounce back, then he's on holiday until 28th of August. So I think it will all be stopped now for 28 days until he comes back, and we will continue with it. So it's a very slow progress. Marinos must be very frustrated, our committee chair, because we are so slow with this GDPR issue. But we are on the case. Rest assured, we are trying our best to be there with this. I think that's all update from me. I will pause for a second now and see whether anybody wants to comment, make suggestions or anything. I'm looking for yellow hands. Roger Story is joining us now. Okay, no further comments from anybody. Very good. Then let's move on to Pradeep, medical oxygen supplies on board. You have received 2 weeks ago, or maybe 10 days ago, Pradeep's presentation and data and everything. So in theory, you should know what we are talking about. But Pradeep, if you could please tell us, why do we need to think about it, and what would you expect us to achieve? Thank you. Over to you, Pradeep.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Again, thanks for the opportunity to talk about this. This is something that we have been discussing in the Intertanko Human Element Committee and the COVID Workforce Committee out there. The basic reasoning that I've been having about this since the COVID started is that the average oxygen requirement for a COVID patient is 5 to 6 liters per minute. And right now with our medical scales that we have, we basically have the small 2-liter ones for resuscitation, and we usually have a 40-liter one at 200 bar. Now that 40-liter one by calculations will only last 22-24 hours at best. And I'm sure all of us have had opportunities where or misfortune where even more than one person on board may be infected by COVID. Most of the time, we've been lucky and we've landed people in time. We had a near miss on a ship which was going from US to Europe, where his condition deteriorated and he was put on oxygen with the help of a shore medical telemedical assistance company. And if that same situation had occurred in the other way around, that he was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened, we probably would have lost that person because we would have run out of oxygen. There was a lot of discussion going on at that time of also using the industrial oxygen on board. And in fact, the doctors did say that, yes, in an emergency, we will even use that. So that kind of made me once again push very hard. And Philip from Intertanko, I think he's here on the call. He has been doing an excellent job pushing in the various meetings that Intertanko attends. So yes, it's been a aim that we try and get more oxygen on board. So as a company, what we did do after this is to supply the extra cylinder, or at least an oxygen concentrator, because again, cylinders were sometimes are not easily available in some ports. Now, the oxygen concentrator, the reason why we proposed that in the meeting with the ICS and IMHA, etc., was that the use of concentrators was proven in India when there was an oxygen shortage in India for a couple of weeks when the number of cases was very high and there were some logistic issues within the country. At that time, a lot of hospitals did use oxygen concentrators, and hence, since it's a proven technology and it's pretty much used in all homes for people who generally need 2 or 3 liter kind of oxygen for various reasons, very old people, lung capacity going down, etc. So that was the other thing that we recommended, that it should come in. And I'm actually happened to be reading this Isle of Man circular, which was issued on the 30th of June. And on, I think it was page 19, they actually have said that an oxygen concentrator is as optional equipment to be kept on board. I haven't gone into specifics with them, whether there are any requirements about what kind of an oxygen concentrator or any medical standards to be done. But I think that's a pretty good thing that a flag has actually said, even though it's optional, that they've brought in the oxygen concentrator with flow capacity of 8 to 10 liters per minute as an option within the medical scales. My logic was that as ship managers, it would be much easier for all of us if this came out as a guidance from someone, even if it's specific only to COVID times and we don't need to increase it or keep the extra cylinders later on. But we have to accept the fact that we could have 2 or 3 or more people with COVID on a cross-Atlantic, cross-Pacific voyage. And then how would it look in the public eye if there was of A, we lose a person, and B, the whole industry comes into the eyes of the entire world to say, well, what kind of facilities, what kind of risk assessments did we all do, knowing that COVID is a possibility, knowing that oxygen is required in many cases for COVID patients, especially in the older age group. But in the Indian scenario, a lot of young people died in the third wave or fourth wave, whatever it's called out there. People died from the age group of 40 to 50, more than the age group above 60, 65, which happened in the first and second waves. So that is why I have been pushing consistently that we should all as an industry aim to get some specific guidance clearly required mandatorily in the scales so that we all equip our ships with, my personal preference, an additional cylinder 40 liters and an oxygen concentrator, because if you have 2 or 3 people with even with 2 cylinders, it's not going to really be manageable cross Atlantic, cross Pacific. That's all I have to say, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Very good. Fine. Thank you, Pradeep. So I'm just thinking, and I can see, Philip, your hand. Give me a second. I'm just thinking, do you know how much money are we talking about? Extra cylinder and extra concentrator? That would be one thing, because maybe we can use the economy of scale and basically go to the suppliers and negotiate something. So the baseline would be, Pradeep?
An oxygen concentrator is a good one. 10 liters per minute is somewhere within $1,500, I would say, or maximum of 2,000 in Europe, 1,200 in China. The cylinder, I think it varies, but it's a very insignificant cost for a medical oxygen cylinder. I think there are many more fleet managers and experts on this who will give the exact price, but I know it's an insignificant price.
Okay, and another question is this: there was this discussion, then we've got plenty of oxygen, which is not medical on board of a ship. In emergency, can this be used? You guys looked into it. Could you just tell us?
Yes, we did look into it. And yes, of course, if a person is dying, of course, everybody would use that. But the basic difference, what we found out was that while medical oxygen is generally supplied by companies who uh, do everything in a very hygienic atmosphere, a sanitized atmosphere, whereas the industrial oxygen quite often is filled up in places which are not necessarily clean, and the purity of it as far as the production goes might be the same, but what contaminants go in because it's for different purposes was the question. But the doctors did tell us that if we run out, we will use the industrial oxygen.
Excellent. Thank you, Pradeep. That's all from me at the moment. Philip, please.
Yeah, thanks, Kuba, and good day to all. Yeah, Pradeep did a great job presenting on this with his medical support to the Vaccines Task Force, which is a pan-industry group looking at all of this, and convinced them. And in that, the International Maritime Health Association, IMHA, was going to open up a new work stream to actually look at this, with the idea of actually formalizing a requirement, but they needed the research. Pradeep, did they continue to contact you? Has your team been involved in that? Thanks.
No, no one has contacted so far.
And that is my worry, actually. I don't want to be a loose cannon here, but sorry, I'll say that, although it is recorded and I've got no problem. It takes ages for some organizations. And can we faff around, or shall we make some intermediate decisions for us and then be corrected? If they do come and then tell us differently, then we will. But otherwise, as Pradeep says, risk assessment, how are we prepared? Are we well prepared for our guys to go across Atlantic Pacific, or we are not? And we're hearing now what it costs. So that would be from me as well. And I'm looking at yellow hands. Anybody wants to add anything? Yes, Sunil, please.
I think Pradeep made a good presentation, and what he said is right. We have seen what happened in India and other part of the countries, and we realize that there are certain things which need to be given. And as companies and the ships which we are running, I think we should have to take a lead where we need to start putting up things, and also telling other things what is needed now. Because unfortunately, if any incident takes place, they would say, "Ki, as a company, you should have realized what are the things you require to be put on the ship for your seafarers," even though it is not mentioned because it is outdated system. So we need to look at to things, how things are evolving. And not only this, the new medicines, new things which could be a life-saving things are required. We need to work on it so that our ships are equipped. At least we can provide the best medical assistance and help to the seafarers. Because our problem is not only that, another problem is if, God forbid, our seafarers are sick, how to get them off the ship. So that is also another problem which we are facing. So we need to provide top class health facilities and health commitments so that they can be taken care of.
Okay, thank you. AJ?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Pradeep. Kuba, thanks for circulating that presentation. It was very, very informative. the one prepared by Pradeep. One question is that we are still finding it difficult to get concentrators at many places. We still have not been able to provide on ships. So as per you mentioned that one more 40-liter oxygen bottle should be okay in such case.
Well, like I said, one person at 6 liters per minute, you're looking at 22, 23 hours of consumption for finishing one cylinder. So as long as you have two, at least you have one person for 2 days that you can do it. The issue with these things is, of course, it's a rare case, and 10 cylinders is not going to happen in our industry, right? So that is the reason my personal preference would be that if the world were to make a requirement to have an oxygen concentrator, it's oxygen concentrators are sold off the shelf in all countries, right? So I mean, why as an industry do we need to not be in the front of these things? Because we have a unique situation, right? I mean, we can't land our plane somewhere in an emergency. We're in, so $2,000 roughly, let's say, it's not a big sum of money to really protect our seafarers. And even for extra medicines, I have been pushing for a few extra medicines, which is also not going anywhere at the moment in these meetings. We're not saying that we want to give these drugs on our own. We're saying tell us when to give it, but at least equip the ships with the necessary medicines. So in the same presentation, the medical guys have come up with a few things that they would like to have based on 1 year of their experience of treating COVID patients. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Can I just say, for what it's worth, I think this is a great initiative, and this is precisely the sort of agitation that InterManager should, the role that InterManager should play. If these oxygen concentrators are safe, and I would like to see some papers, Pradeep, if you could share some of the research I no doubt the Anglo-Eastern has done on this, then for our part, we as CSM will commit wholeheartedly to this. And not only that, I'm sure BSM, Bernard Schulte, who should be on the call, through our procurement platform, GemPro, we will commit to getting the best prices at cost for these oxygen concentrators and cylinders. So I'll get them looking at that straight away, and that will be for the benefit of the industry and benefit of the seafarers at cost. So if you say it's 2,000, I'm sure with the scale and the leverage that GemPro can bring, we can get that cost down. And I think it's exactly the right thing. It's exactly the right thing to do, and we should certainly be doing it. My only question mark is, let's make sure what we're advocating and supporting is safe. And I'm sure Anglo-Eastern has done this. But I think this is just the sort of thing which our members and our seafarers want from InterManager. So it's absolutely the right thing to do. So Pradeep, maybe you can go back and explain to Beyond that InterManager has a value, and that we would welcome your membership as a result of taking a forthright step on this, because I think that is a criticism of non-InterManager members, that we don't take these sort of issues seriously. I think it's a great argument to run, and a very good step. So by the next meeting we'll have prices, the best possible prices we can get on all of this, and perhaps if you could circulate some papers just to show that the proper research has been done, that we're not advocating something that puts seafarers at risk. That was my initial ignorant concern with Cuba, that applying oxygen to people is an art, and we don't want to exacerbate the problem and cause more problems than we're trying to cure.
The oxygen concentrators are a regular medical device sold off the shelf. So they have been approved for home use in all countries. So there is no specific, more research that we need to do, because they are in use in millions of units across the world.
My question, Pradeep, is just: is it the cure? Or, we don't want to. Is it going to exacerbate a COVID a patient suffering with COVID rather than cure. And it may be useful for some situations, but that's what we have to be. Otherwise, we're advocating the wrong thing. We have to be very, very careful here. But no doubt they are safe to use in normal circumstances. But that's there I'm ignorant, I'm afraid. But probably my ignorance is shared by most of the people on the call. And says we're not medics. But let's look into it definitely. I think, and we will find out through. I will commit on behalf of CSM our procurement platform together with BSM, and I'm sure BSM will object if they I'm sure they'll be with us, that we get the best price at cost for all benefit of all InterManager members, and we do that straight away before the next meeting, because I think that's important, and price should not come into this anyway, frankly.
And we've got a Vikrant who wants to add something. Vikrant?
Yeah, I'm just adding on to what Mr. Chawla has mentioned. So India was having a very severe spike in COVID cases. So we shipped 210 odd concentrators, oxygen concentrators, which are like 5-liter ones, down to all our offices in India, because we were concerned about our well-being of these people in the offices. I'm happy to say, out of the experience, we were able to save a lot of people, our own employees, because their lungs were totally infected, and the closest hospital is probably 2 hours or 3 hours. So in Delhi, there were no hospitals, and they were absolutely out of capacity. So we had to transport them to the nearby city. So these oxygen concentrators actually helped them. So then after that, within our management, we started making a review of whether, because we did have an experience, they were easily handled by office staff. They were shipped in from China. So majority of the supplies came in from China for a cost of say around 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is more or less the same price as what Mr. Pradeep is mentioning. Now, the management decided that we will also be putting concentrators on our ships. So any ship which is passing through Singapore, all these places, concentrators are available. There was a time when they were off stock, but now there are stocks readily available in Singapore. So we are taking those initiatives similar to how Anglo-Eastern is doing. But then the only concern was, if required, the medical support that the staff may require. And that point is also been covered by the presentation which Mr. Chawla made. That is where probably we need to support the staff. But then out of our experience, I don't think we had any issues, and we are also simultaneously going about putting these concentrators on our managed ships.
Okay, thank you. Pradeep, you've got a hand up. Do you want to come back on yourself? And you are muted now, so I can't hear you. Shake your hand.
Sorry. No, I will lower it. It was earlier when I've already done that.
Okay, good. So taking it, because I need my homework, I will talk to Pradeep. I'll continue talking to Pradeep. Meantime, Mark is going to check, and we also have a ShipServe, our member, competitor to Mark in this case, but that would be a probably healthy competition if they can source even cheaper oxygen supplies and everything. So that would help, and we'll have a choice. But meantime, obviously, we need to make sure that we are making a best industry practice, I suggest, because we can't do rules. There is a huge appetite for people to actually continue on the leadership shown here by Pradeep Anglo-Eastern. And then let's see, Pradeep, what you've got already in place, whether this can be beefed up as a procedure. And this is the procedure you guys are already using. Then I would like to see the Vikrant having a look at this procedure and adding maybe some stuff. Philip definitely will have a look and check whether we are making sure. I will send it to Rob being IMHA, and see whether IMHA can add anything valuable. And if they do, then I will get this, and then there will be a superhero document, which we can then either adopt, or, well, we will adopt and we'll say this is the best practice and we are using it. And whoever wants can follow us up with this. So now I've got a Stephen, and then I've got Raul. Stephen Bond, please.
Yes, good morning, good evening. Very interesting. As you know, we have produced these videos free of charge in a stack of languages relating to COVID. if something comes out of this, I'm not an expert on the subject. I've got one or two people with whom we work who know a fair bit. We would be prepared with pleasure to amend what we've got or produce another module on the medical requirements or the use of the oxygen or how it should be given if it's felt it's necessary to be done. So we're happy to do that. And while looking at that, and I know I spoke to Pradeep quite some time back on this subject, if there's something else that needs to be done of a medical nature because of those that have got COVID, then say so, please, at some stage as good industry practice, and we'll wrap it all up into the same module. So I just leave that out there, but I'm not an expert on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And Raul, please.
Thanks, Kuba. I don't want to muddy the waters of this discussion, because I think it's something slightly to the side. But given Mark's opening comments about, the various different variants we're going to be dealing with and the general prognosis, this is some disruption going on for some time, and the logistical challenges of getting people on and off, I wondered whether there is a broader thing to look at the medical supplies that we keep on board vessels. Is that something that should be considered?
Okay, and my answer is yes, it's being already looked into. The problem is that Philip, myself, and the others of Inter organizations are facing is then we have to go through IMHA. And it's good to have Rob with us. He's extremely good guy. He's one of us, but then he has to go through WHO and so on and so forth. So the bullshitty answer is yes, we are looking into it. Is it fast enough? No. So sometimes probably we need to do what we are trying to do now and let the regulators to catch up with us, would be my answer. Pradeep, you came back on yourself.
Yes, sorry to come back again. Ideally, I think to help IMHA to decide quickly, if there was some kind of a joint representation by InterManager, Intercargo, BIMCO, Intertanko, etc., IMEC, all of us are pretty close friends. If we all agree on that this is a good thing, and if there was some kind of a written statement of some kind which we all can coordinate amongst the organizations, it would give them, IMHA, also a solid reason that this is an industry initiative which they have put across, and that way we benefit the entire industry, seafarers from any company, whether they are members of any of these organizations or not. That would be my request. Thank you.
Make perfect sense to me, absolutely. And I see that Philip is also nodding his head. So no brainer as far as we're concerned. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, guys, I think that's it. 37. I'll better move to another subject. Thank you very much, Radhi, for bringing this in, and thank you everybody for participating in this excellent discussion. And I'm looking for more issues like that. Liam, are you ready? Because you are muted now, so unmute yourself.
Hello. Yes.
Go for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for the time. Share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. So for those that don't know me, my name is Liam Herbert. I'm one of the solutions directors at ShipServe. ShipServe, for those that don't know it, hopefully everybody does by now, but is the largest maritime e-procurement platform in the maritime space. So I wanted to take this opportunity, thank you very much, to talk about data and how we are now helping clients to transform their data, to work with their data, to be able to provide insights that are able to support them for better decision making. Before I get into the nitty gritty, I just wanted to talk about briefly what ShipServe does today. So primarily ShipServe is involved in three focus areas. The main one of the main ones is search and find. So this is the ability for buyers to be able to find alternative suppliers based on our network of over 50,000 suppliers. Also, we have data that spans back 21 years, a million purchase orders each year, and we have a lot of data there that can support clients if they want to find alternative or products in hard to reach ports, or looking for new suppliers in that specific space. The bread and butter of ShipServe has always been trade connectivity and automation. So this is the notion of being able to automate the RFQ PO process between a buyer's ERP system and a supplier's ERP system. And that's our core business. And finally, we also now, with the data side of it, with more of the insights and reporting, we're able to provide customers with more insights to provide optimized performance. As I mentioned before, we're the largest maritime trading network in the e-procurement space. Over 10,000 vessels connected to the platform, 50,000 suppliers. And as you can see at the bottom, we have the largest range of interfaces to other ERP systems and plant maintenance systems that you can see at the bottom of this slide. Last year, we launched our brand new platform. So we're now future proof in terms that we have a brand new technology stack. Combined with that, we also have, as I mentioned beforehand, lots of data happening through the platform. And using the new technology, what we're now able to do is transform that data and to translate it into a standard description, standard terminology, which allows companies to get a bit more visibility and transparency about what they're actually buying. So typically with a lot of ship managers, it can be the case that they're using 2-3 different purchasing systems to do the procurement for their vessels, whereas that's all coming through the one platform ourselves, and we are then able to harmonize that data. At the bottom of the screen, we're now looking at providing another solution, which is called ShipServe Zone, and that's the notion of having contracts and catalogs all in one space. So the concept of ShipServe Zone was derived because catalogs have been in our space for a long time. They might be paper copies thumbed through in the engine control room, on the bridge, wherever it may be. Different suppliers are offering their own digitized catalogs, but what typically happens is all those catalogs are in completely different spaces. There's no one single source of truth. So what we are now developing, and what we have developed, and it's going through a beta process at the moment, is that notion of being able to standardize those catalogs and bring it all into one place with one standard taxonomy. So the taxonomy we're using at the moment, we're starting with stores, and those are all being classified not to IMPA but to UNSPEC as a more of a generic industry agnostic classification system. But this catalog content allows companies to start to visualize more enriched data, and also will be able to support unit prices and port zone differentials and those sorts of things in the future. So what are the key benefits for the buyers? We see it as that we've developed it so that it could be used in a lean way on board vessels. Because of our new technology stack, we've got the ability to have simpler integrations with a lot of the ERP systems. So we see it as a solution that allows a company to roll it out to their vessels, to allow the vessels to be able to place their orders through this system using nice clean data. And the key benefits to that would be the fact that they can then contract and control a lot of their spend and reduce this notion of maverick spending, because you are controlling a lot of your spend through your favorite suppliers. Now, I wanted to run you through some case studies now of where companies are starting to see the light as to what's happening with some of their data. So oh, pardon me, sorry, let me just go to here. So what I'm showing you here is this is an overlay. We're using this is a Power BI demonstration, but we're using the overlay based on data that we have supported with some of our clients, that we are able to then classify it and give it the right topology, and we're also making sure that everything is classified, cleansed, and given location details in this particular case. So this is live data.
Sorry, Liam.
Hello?
It's Sharon here. I think we're not seeing your Power BI slides. We are still seeing your slides.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I was seeing slides. Hold on, I can see.
Yeah, it's still the slides. It's not Power BI yet.
Is that Power BI now?
No, it's not. It's still the slides.
Oh. Let me stop sharing and resharing that slide. No, hold on. Let me just close down. My apologies. Let me just close down the slides. There. Sorry. Can you see that?
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks for that, Sharon. Yeah. So what this is showing is this is a Power BI overlay, but this is using data that we have supported our client to cleanse, to classify, and to ensure that it is like for true to life. So harmonizing units of measurements and things of that nature. Now, what this shows is that this is specifically for provision. So this is their provision spend. And this is looking at a 12-month period. So typically this company would go out, they use 4 or 5 different suppliers certainly in their key ports. When their ship generates a requisition for 100 line items, they will then send it to the usual process of 4 or 5 suppliers, and the cheapest one overall wins the business. And that's their run-of-the-mill work. So what we looked to adapt and to sort of show to them that the data supports a more of a contract-based type of approach. So what we're showing them here is that on the left-hand side, you can see there's let me just highlight one of them. You can see there's the port information. So we've obviously for data confidentiality purposes, we've anonymized this data. But in 2021, in the Q2, they ordered this particular product item. Again, we've anonymized that, but they've ordered that particular item 20 times, and they bought 470 pieces of that particular product. Their actual spend was $884. That's actually what they bought with their 2 or 3 different suppliers that they went to. The cheapest price that they could have achieved, should they have had it under contract for that particular quarter, would be $783 just for that one specific item. And you can see here they had a variation that on one occasion they bought it at the cheapest price, $1.67 with supplier 31, and the most expensive price they paid was $2.54 with supplier 16. So there's a price variation there. Now, that looks like a mountain full of a wall full of information, but if we start to look at it as to how can that really look at saving us value, is you can see here that this is a list of all the ports that they bought those provisions for, and they might not want to contract their items for provisions in every single port, and the data would show that there's absolutely no reason why to do that. Because what you're seeing here is that the top line is what they actually spent. The dark blue line is what they could have spent should they have gone to their cheapest supplier. Now, just to reiterate, that's their cheapest supplier, not the cheapest market supplier. So this is their data. We're not looking at market benchmarking or anything like that. So it gives them the idea to say, okay, well, if we got our thinking hats on and contracted this, there is a saving to be made just on provisions of $120,000 in this particular annual period. You can also then break it down to say, okay, well, which vessels would that affect the most? And especially if it's ship managers, maybe it would affect different clients more beneficial. Similar fashion, we're doing it. We've now done it with IMPA. So this is stream data. So every time we see stores coming through the platform that references IMPA numbers, we're picking that out straight away and cleansing that. And again, this particular client, a different client, would have saved themselves in the region of $120,000 doing a contract-based procurement. And there's obviously an assumption to say that the suppliers that they are choosing to go to currently are ones that they've already vetted based on quality. But it just proves that if you started to have contract-based procurement, that there is some savings to be made. Spares. This is one example that we brought to one of the client's attention. Now, this is an injection valve for one of their series of engines on board their fleet. And just for this one item, if they had these items under contract, and at the moment they have a framework agreement whereby the framework agreement is an X percentage off the total value of the orders, they would have, in this case, saved themselves $26,000. Now, this is just one item that we've borne out. There is you can see here on the 6th of May, they bought that item, 6 pieces of it, $6,200. Exactly the same supplier they used. Exactly the same quality, it was genuine. They ordered 21 of them and they paid $7,264. And the difference was discounts were some discounts were applied on one order, some discounts weren't applied on the other orders. The client confirmed that was the case on the invoices. So it's actually something that went through the whole process and never got picked up. So this is something that just brings to the fore, brings it to the purchaser's attention to say, even if you didn't have under contract, maybe that's something to be aware of, so that you can then speak to the client, speak to the supplier, and maybe retrospectively get a credit based on that. And finally, a lot of companies mention that if you ask them what their spares policy is, oh yeah, we a lot of them would say genuine only. Some of them say genuine for critical spares, and for other spares we would buy whatever it may be. We're not so specific on quality, but none of the purchasing systems or partner systems that I'm aware of can actually absorb that level of data in terms of what quality that spares are being offered by the suppliers. So suppliers are now mandated on our platform to specify a quality when they quote for the business and when they are awarded it. And what this breaks down, this is just one example of a brand of purifier for a fleet of vessels, same company, and as you can see, there is a difference in the standard of spare parts that they are ordering in terms of quality. Now that could be based on factors such as year of build. There might be some vessels are in a warranty period, or it could be based on different clients that ship manager might have. Some are genuine, some are not so bothered about the genuine requirement. But it's more just to bring it to your guys' attention that this is something now that we are providing for our clients, and gives full transparency, so reduces risk, and enables you to ensure that when you say you're ordering genuine only parts, it is genuine only parts, and there's proof to back that up. So in the interest of time, I thank you, Kuba. I know I think I've gone over by a couple of minutes. I'll open the floor to any questions anybody may have.
Okay, Liam, thank you very much. Obviously, the floor is open. If I see any yellow hand, then I will direct that, no problem. Now, I do have a question for you, because obviously for me, it's very interesting. I'm not dealing with it anymore for the last 10 years, but when we were looking into it, you were answering some of my questions. Genuinity of spare parts, for example, is a very, very interesting one. And we thank you very much for appreciating the fact that we might have different clients. We might have a gold client, and we might have a silver client, and we might have a bronze client, and we all want to. So for us, if I were to run my product, for example, would I be able to split and see the clients, not just the ships, but can I run my own statistics having different clients?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're sort of, some of this, the analytics that we're now doing is we are customizing it with those particular clients. It's not a one size fits all. Many clients will say, yes, we want to have standard types of analytics, but others will say, no, we want to know, okay, because there might be a difference with the build of the vessel, for example. Some people might say, okay, well, the vessel was built in China, so we don't want to go with the OEM space in that. We want to go for the genuine space and buy it from a different source. So it's completely flexible in that respect. Okay. And I used to be a purchasing manager for various ship managers, so I know exactly the challenges that a lot of ship managers would have in this particular space.
Thank you, Mark. please.
Yes, just a quick one to clarify your earlier comment. ShipServe and GenPro, which is the BSM CSM procurement platform, they're not competitors. In fact, GenPro use ShipServe. ShipServe is a buying platform linking buyer and seller. Procurement platforms negotiate the overriding contracts to get to those prices and get to those discounts. So GenPro use ShipServe and very happy using ShipServe, but they're two very different beasts. One comes before the other and gets to the prices based on volumes and leverage. So I think coming back to my original comments, I'll certainly be talking with ShipServe, or GenPro will certainly be talking with ShipServe in relation to identifying the suppliers and then getting the right contracts in place for those oxygen concentrators and getting some price lists out to the members.
Mark, thank you for that, because I got it wrong. Hands up. I thought you guys were competing. So that's good to know. Then there is a pecking order sort of. Okay, very good. Any other questions for Liam, please? No. Okay, and I've got another question for you, because you mentioned IMPA catalog. What about ISA catalog? Are you guys working with ISA as well?
We are, yeah. Well, we're working with various different standards. The reason why I showed IMPA, because IMPA is widely used by most clients that we have trading on the platform. But yeah, we've actually done our own. Our data has our own mappings as well. So ISA is mapped to IMPA, is mapped to UNSPEC. So we have all of these different standards all mapped together. So yeah, we can work with whatever standard there.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, Liam, not seeing any further comments from anybody, I would like to thank you very much. And excellent timekeeping as well. Thank you. And coming back to our meeting and summary of today, I believe, Mark, I would like you to wrap up things and then we close. So, Mark, over to you.
Yeah, no, very quickly. I think that's an excellent discussion, both before Liam and including his product. I think this is exactly what these 60 minutes are for, and I hope everybody shares my view that this is, as a forum, is maturing nicely into a stimulating debate, and lots of conversations can take place afterwards, and we all hopefully will go off with various work tasks to do before the next meeting. I think SMI, Cuba, you'll sit down with Sean and get focusing of mind so that we know what we have to do to advertise in articles, etc. General principles leave with me in the first instance. I have dropped the ball somewhat over the last month. Oxygen concentrators and oxygen, exactly what we should be doing as an association and taking the lead. So once let's try before the next meeting to get clarity on our position and then roll that out, which I think is excellent. And Pradeep, just as a side note, slightly tongue in cheek, please go back, as I cheekily suggested to your boss Bjorn, and say what an interesting debate it was, and this is exactly the benefits of InterManager, and having Anglo Eastern on board would be very worthwhile, and so we can have more of these debates going forward. Thanks very much, everybody.
And that brings me to say 3 minutes ahead of the time, guillotine comes down. Thank you, everyone. See you 18th. Bye bye.
Thank you, Cuba. Thank you.
Make sure you win the race, Cuba.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Cuba.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Race. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.